Hi, and welcome to 15 Minutes of Fame. I'm Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
Well, lots to talk about this week. Kersey, let's start in the CFL, though, where the Edmonton Eskimos are heading into a bye week. I think they need the break here, Jim, ahead of the tough Labor Day Classic in Calgary and then the back-to-back games in Edmonton. Jim, what happened on Friday?
You know what? The Eskimos just came out flat. They got off to a slow start, and they never recovered.
Yeah.
And, you know, they gave up 8 sacks after giving up 6 the week before, which we thought was bad.
Yes.
So that's 18 over 3 weeks. The offensive line's having real struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we're dealing with our 4 top receivers all on the sidelines. So you got 3 new receivers debuted on Friday.
Yep.
And, you know, Ricky Ray wasn't able to connect with these guys. And I think a lot of quarterbacks would have a tough time with a brand new receiving core. And, you know, the guys that he was familiar with aren't his top string guys. So it's tough to come out with a depleted offense, basically. The run game has struggled. It was slightly better than negative yards, which it was the week before.
Right.
But still not that great. And it all just went wrong for Edmonton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you almost lose against the Argos. You lose pretty badly in Winnipeg. You get smoked in Montreal, and then you get embarrassed at home. Can the Edmonton Eskimos can they bounce back?
Well, they've got this long week. Let's not forget they got slaughtered by a 1-6 team as well. You know,
that's right.
That makes it just a touch worse. But they've got a long week to recover here. That means hopefully some guys back from injury. I know Darius Bowman is probably back for the Labor Day Classic. But, you know, unfortunately, just like after Edmonton's first loss of the year, we thought, okay, well, we can bounce back. Ooh, but we have Montreal next.
Right.
That's tough. Here we are, 3 losses, and we have Calgary next.
Right.
So it's another tough game to bounce back. If they don't, they're 1 game over 500, and that's a real slap in the face after starting out 5-0. I think they can bounce back against Calgary, but it's going to take a lot. And this is a really important little stretch here for them. They don't have any games until the Labor Day Classic, but it's really important for them right now to get into, you know, a different frame of mind and maybe get familiar with the players they're with, fix that offensive line, and get back at it.
Anytime a football team starts to lose, people almost always start to question the quarterback. So here it is. Is Ricky Ray still the go-to guy in Edmonton?
I think it's tough to tell until you get those offensive line problems fixed.
Agreed.
Because what we saw last year, there was massive problems on the O-line, and Ricky Ray looked bad. And, you know, I think if you're just watching the game as a casual observer, you see it and go, man, that quarterback stinks.
Yeah,
but you know,
8 sacks.
Yeah, if he's not getting an opportunity to make plays, and again, if he's dealing with, you know, his 3rd string receiving core,
yes,
which is basically what those guys are at the moment, it's tough to really gauge him. Head coach Kavis Reed said there was no quarterback controversy when he took Ray out and put Kerry Joseph in, but he just said, well, we weren't coming back. The game was out of hand. I don't want to see my franchise player get hurt in those circumstances. So I think he's still got the confidence of his coach and of his team. But, you know, until they fix that offensive line, it's really tough to tell if he's still the guy.
Totally agree. And like you say, the receivers and the O-line, and, you know, they're going to get a defensive back in the next little while. Yeah. So we'll see. I agree. We got to give him at least the Calgary
give us Fred Stamps back and a Darius Bowman, and we'll see if Ricky Ray looks a little better.
Totally.
I'm going to guess he does.
Yeah. Quickly, after a 1-7 start, the Rough Riders have fired head coach Greg Marshall and offensive coordinator Doug Barry. Was it the right move?
It's always the easiest move is to fire the coach.
Can't fire all the players.
It's a shame because he worked a long time in the league and finally got his head coaching gig, and it lasted 8 games. You wonder, though, if Saskatchewan had come back, if Chris Getzlaff hadn't dropped that pass in the end zone and they would have come back to beat Toronto last Thursday, would he still have a job? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But
he came out this week and said, you know, 8 games probably wasn't enough for me to prove that I was that good of a coach. So, you know, I wish I had a few more games. Mind you, every coach probably says that. When leaving. Yeah, that's right. On to hockey now, where the NHL is mourning the loss of yet another player. Rick Ripien was found dead last Monday after about 3 months after Derek Bugard's passing. it's a controversial argument to have in hockey circles, but with two fighters dying this summer, and even a guy like Bob Probert, next NHL player, dying last year as well, is it time to look at fighting in hockey?
I think, I don't want to see fighting leave the game because it's an exciting part of the game. It's a momentum-changing part of the game that, if used correctly, as some of the great captains in the history of the game have used it, it's a part of the game, and it's a valuable part of the game. That said, head injuries and concussions and things of that nature are a serious problem, and we're learning more about them, every day it seems, and we're seeing the effects more every day. So you wonder if maybe it is time to sort of take a step back and see. I don't know.
That's the thing. I'm on the fence too, and it's tough to be on the fence like this. But I mean, you've got to, at a point here, say, the player safety is more important, and until we have more information on why this is happening, it might be a time to get out of it. I saw a good piece by Dave Hodge out of TSN, and I don't usually agree with Dave, but on this one it was, he's okay with hockey as long as fights, if people come out and say, listen, I want the fights for the fights, not for the enforcer part of the game, not for this. I just want to see someone fight on the ice, and then at least come out and say it. That's an interesting point of view as well, that at least if you're talking fights just for the fights, maybe you can start talking about protection. You can start talking about different helmets or not taking off the helmets or whatever, just like that. And I don't know.
I don't think that taking fighting out of hockey will reduce concussions because players are going to get concussed in a contact sport.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's played at a high rate of speed. And I also I don't think that you can really take fighting out of the game. You can maybe make stiffer penalties, but guys are going to fight.
Totally. So I guess, we'll see what the NHL does if they're going to do anything at all. While we're talking concussions, however, there are rumors that Sidney Crosby might not be ready for training camp after some recurring concussion symptoms. How bad is the news for the Pens, and should they be worried?
I think they should be a little bit worried because
so too.
He got hurt in January.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
And it's August, and he's still feeling the effects a little bit. If he's maybe missing the start of training camp, there's obviously the chance he could miss the start of the regular season. They don't seem too worried at the moment, at least not publicly. They say he hasn't been cleared for contact yet, but there's been no reason to ask for him to be cleared for contact. But
I'm telling you, I'm worried. I'm worried that if it's taking this long to come back from one concussion, and this is probably not his first real one, but
his first documented
one. Probably I'm worried that. I'm worried his career's in jeopardy. That's just me talking.
It could be.
The Hockey News says that the Oilers are going to finish last in the West this season, Jim. They got it right last year, but do you think they got it wrong this year?
I think that they're forgetting that when the Oilers are healthy, there's some good players on the team.
Yeah.
Like an Alex Hemsky for a full season. Haven't seen that.
No.
2 seasons.
Yeah.
Whitney looked outstanding when he was playing for the Oilers until he got hurt for the bulk of a season.
Yeah.
There's some pieces there that we haven't really seen together, and I think they might not. Well, they're not going to finish first. I'll say that. That's my bold prediction.
Ooh.
Not going to be first in the West,
right.
But I don't think they're going to be last in the West.
No, I think they're going for playoff spot.
I think they could at least compete. They could be in the hunt, in that little group at the back. That's trying.
Absolutely. And finally, a day before his 35th birthday, Chris Drury announced his retirement from pro hockey after 12 seasons. The Rangers bought him out this summer. He's coming off a tough year, but do you think he's going to be back at some point?
You wonder with a guy that retires at 35.
No kidding.
He might get the itch in a year or so. Because it's, playing pro hockey for that long, you'd be used to the routines. You'd be, I think you would start to miss certain aspects of it, and I'm sure he can still game.
Absolutely.
He had a tough season and maybe a tough couple of seasons, but
he's still a good player.
I don't know. I think there might be a chance that maybe even late this season. Who knows? But we'll see.
We're going to move on to the GABBYs now. Good this week to Minnesota Twins slugger Jim Thome. He went yard twice on Monday night to become the 8th player in MLB history to hit 600 homers. He's the second fastest to do it, needing just over 8,000 at-bats to get there. It was fitting that he did it against the Detroit Tigers, too, since he's hit more runs against them in his career than any other team. Do you remember when it was a big deal when anybody could hit 600? That was a big deal, but now, I like it. Good for him.
Oh, yeah. Well, 8th player ever. That's pretty good.
Exactly.
They gave him a fishing trip as a present.
I like it.
Yeah. I suppose we should also give a good to Dan Uggla. His hitting streak ended last weekend at 33 games. But still, 33 straight games. That's pretty good. He raised his batting average by like 50-some points, I think. He had 15 homers and 32 RBI, I believe, in that span. And, he was the guy that was maybe wondering about his baseball future until he really caught fire there. But a good goes to this one because it really makes you think, wow, that Joe DiMaggio was something.
No kidding.
His record of 56 games seems pretty untouchable.
Yeah, Joltin' Joe, that's the one.
Do you know he dunks his donuts?
He's a dunker. This one's all baseball. Our final good goes to the Texas Rangers. They'll be honoring the fan that died at their ballpark with a bronze statue. Firefighter Shannon Stone fell to his death reaching for a ball earlier this summer. That's a classy move by the Rangers. I'm happy they're doing that.
Yeah, it is. That was a sad story.
A very sad story.
Right in front of his kid.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's not all class at the GABBYs
Thank
this week,
God.
Jeff, and it rarely is.
Yes.
It rarely is. We turn to the bad side now with Barcelona and Real Madrid renewing pleasantries earlier this week in the Spanish Super Cup. 94th minute, dirty tackle from a Real Madrid player on a Barcelona player, Cesc Fabregas. Starts a big, we'll call it a bench-clearing brawl, but in soccer terms, it was a bench-clearing brawl. In hockey terms, it was a meeting of the minds on the sidelines. Even the coaches got into it, giving a little ear pinch, which not the toughest thing you could do, but I suppose it's as tough as you want to get if you're a coach. Or I don't really know what to say.
I mean, we talk about we make fun of soccer a lot on this show, and rightfully so. And you're right, bench clearing brawl is probably not exactly the right term for it. It was a lot of shoving, and so let's say there's 20 people on each side, and one guy is trying to go ahead, and then all 19 are holding them back. Ooh, one guy.
The best part is after the ear pinch, so Jose Mourinho went back a few steps and gave a look like,
that's it.
Yeah, I
got
something.
you.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
How about a bad to Green Bay Packers linebacker Desmond Bishop? He forgot his ID on the team plane when he went to visit President Barack Obama at the White House, and so he wasn't allowed in. I know there's big-time security at the White House, but, I mean, you know who this guy is just by looking at him. He's going to be one of the biggest...
can vouch for him.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what's going on there.
That's tough. Oh, man, that would be embarrassing.
Could you sitting out in the foyer?
He had to sit on the team bus.
Oh, man.
They didn't let him in the foyer.
Brutal.
Oh, no, you can't get anywhere near that place. You have to stand outside the fence.
You see him just pressed up against the glass and watching. That's too bad.
I feel bad for him. Absolutely.
Totally.
Our final bad, sticking with the NFL, goes to the NFL.
Yes.
They've suspended former Ohio State quarterback Terelle Pryor for 5 games, should any team pick him in the supplemental draft. The suspension is for something that happened at the school. So they're suspending a non-NFLer for something that happened in a different league before he's in the NFL. And I don't know if that's maybe setting a strange precedent, but it's this whole improper benefits deal, and I don't even know where we stand on that anyways, because you got the NCAA profiting wildly off the backs of the players. The players aren't allowed to sell memorabilia to make it all seems a little strange. I'd like to know a little more about what's going on with the NCAA. A lot of problems this offseason, even more problems upcoming. But I don't know what Pryor says. He's not gonna appeal the ban, but
it's a weird story all around.
It doesn't seem right. I don't think.
No, agreed. Yeah, we're gonna move on to quick hits now. Cubs pitcher Carlos Zambrano cleaned out his locker and mentioned retirement after a recent loss, but then changed his mind and says he wants to come back. Would you let him?
It's kind of like Carlos being Carlos.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But I don't know. I feel like they've had enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's done there.
Well, those are our 15 minutes of fame up for this week. Join us again next week when we get a whole new 15 minutes of fame. In the meantime, I'm Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
Have a good week, folks.